Christmas comes to Eternia, and you'll want to be there. It's the all-new He-Man She-Ra Christmas special. Monday at 3 on Channel 13.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes on the podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Del Vecchio. With me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey, friends.
Hello, everyone. I guess this is the type of video where it doesn't mind if I timestamp it or not, but happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everyone out there. I just found out that it's a very long process, but the air fryer I purchased has a bake setting, so I can cook cookies in an air fryer. That was my week.
Okay. I feel like you could make about 3 of them at a time.
It's a little bigger than normal. I got it on sale for 60% off. I can do 5, maybe 6 if I squeeze.
Oh. Well, I guess 5 cookies is enough for one person.
Yeah. I got one of those pre-made squares,
Sure.
ones, and I made a whole package, so that was enough for me. But I was and this was after I went and bought a baking sheet to actually use my small tiny oven in my apartment. And then I saw there was a bake setting on my air fryer. I'm like, let me try this, because I am not sure if the baking sheet I bought will fit in the oven. So
Mark's a regular foodie now.
yes, I am. Baking in an air fryer.
He's joining the air fryer life.
Yep.
Can I tell you guys a story? And I kind of want your thank you.
I'm always ready for a story.
I want your input on this, and it involves me kind of being a dick. But I want to see if I'm validated.
Out of character.
Yeah, right. This is not. If you know me, I'm
so this
the nicest person.
They Call This a Movie's very own Am I the Asshole?
Yes. Yeah, there you go. That's the perfect setting. Okay, so recently at my real job, not this, we had a white elephant we had a Christmas party, and we had a white elephant. So the range was $15 to $20 for the gifts.
Mm-hmm.
So people definitely went over with some of their gifts. Like someone brought in a bullet blender, someone brought in a heated neck pillow. People brought in some nice gifts. There was a Alexa Dot.
Is this like the Office situation?
Well, let me continue, and then you'll see. So everyone picked a number out of a hat, and I got number 10. I'm like, all right, it's good. There'll be some good gifts in front of me. Probably I could steal and or trade, whatever. So now what wound up happening was everyone was opening these gifts, and the people were getting some really nice gifts: throw blankets, a cell phone charging station, but no one's trading, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, all right, well, someone's got to trade soon, or else I don't want to be the asshole who steals someone's really nice gift. And everybody is, whenever they get the gift, they're like, oh, this is great. I've always wanted one of these. Like, well, now I don't want to steal that person's gift because they definitely, they really wanted that. Like, all right, well, I'm sure I'll pick something nice. Everyone seems to have gone above and beyond here, so I'll get something nice. So it's my turn. I go up and I open the gift, and the gift that I picked was a floating wall stand. And I don't know if you guys know what a floating wall stand is. It's essentially just this plastic thing that you put to the wall, and it counts as like a shelf, essentially.
Okay.
So I really wanted to trade. I wanted the neck pillow. But I was like,
but Dan, you have so many action figures to put on that floating shelf.
Oh, right. So and apparently one of my coworkers told me this afterwards. Like, yeah, you had zero poker face because you could just see the disdain on your face when you opened the gift. So I was like, what am I going to do? Like, am I really going to saddle somebody with a fucking wall mount? Like a plastic wall mount? I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to keep it then. So that
Well,
was my gift. That was
So
my...
the rules of your white elephant was after you picked it up. After you picked it, you could have traded.
Yes, I could have swapped it with anyone else's gifts, but
Oh,
that had
interesting.
picked prior.
That's different than the white elephant I've played in the past, where it's
Now,
like
how have you done it?
you either steal a gift or you pick a gift.
Okay.
So it's like once you pick up a gift, you're
Yeah.
done.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
that's
So
the same
if
way.
you,
Yeah.
and then if you steal someone else's gift, they would then have to pick the next gift, basically.
Okay. Yeah, this
Or
one
they
was
could
done.
steal. Yeah.
Okay. So this one was done differently, I guess. And yeah, so I just now I want to know, was I right or wrong should I have switched, or should I, just sucked it up and probably not have made a huge face apparently that I hated this gift.
Well, I mean, I'm sure you didn't on purpose live a sour face, but maybe that's why you're not great at poker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you should have. I don't think you're the asshole if you had stolen.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
you
would
should-
have been justified, right?
That's the game.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah, I feel if you do it before you pick the gift, then you're just playing by the rules.
Yeah.
But once you pick and you give Nick the sour face, then you do kind of look like an asshole for switching.
Yeah.
Well, if other people had done it, I definitely would have traded.
Right. It's hard to bust that first nut, right? To be that
Exactly.
guy.
I
first
feel
one.
as if it's easier with friends,
Sure.
not
Yeah.
coworkers, because now listen, I like all my coworkers, and I hope they all like me, but it's not the same level. So if I go and steal the pillow from the guy who works in client services, and I need a favor later, like, maybe I'll bump Dan down a notch. Like I'll get someone else's order first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not saying that anyone's a vindictive asshole at my company, but hey, listen, hey Dan, remember when you stole my pillow?
Is this what people would call projection, Dan?
I would never do that. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. I think you're going to say that like everybody else went over the $20 and everyone was mad at you because you stuck
that's
with
what I
the
thought.
15 to 20.
Well, people definitely went over. Again, like someone brought in a bullet blender, so that's over $15.
Did someone buy someone an iPod and specifically want that person to pick it?
No, so it wasn't the office in a way, but it was definitely. Wasn't it like Michael? He brought the iPod and he was pissed that no one else got a cool gift like he did.
No, he wanted BJ Novak's character to pick it because he wanted him to like him or something like that.
Gotcha.
If I remember correctly.
I think it was more that he just wanted the glory of bringing the gift that everybody wanted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as long as I feel a little vindicated at least.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I think going back to the office, I think it was originally a Secret Santa, and then he changed it into White Elephant, and then it was like
right.
everybody bought like personal gifts for everybody, and they were trading them.
Right, because Jim bought a teapot, right, for Pam
with all like mementos in it and stuff.
Yeah.
Right, and then like Kevin got it or someone, right?
Or Dwight.
White. Okay, that makes sense.
The one time I've ever played White Elephant with coworkers, I wound up pulling first, number one, the worst spot, and then I arguably pulled the worst gift in the entire pile. So no one had any interest in stealing from me. So I was like immediately out of the game. Like I pulled, it was a plastic like flask shaped like a stocking.
Okay.
It was terrible.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, so now what we did, the woman who went first, after everyone had gone, she got a chance to trade with everybody. So she could have picked someone that had already, gone. So that's how they remedied that.
Yeah. That's a pretty good house rule, we'll call it.
Sure. I think going forward, like maybe we should do like a Secret Santa. That might be a little better.
Yeah.
Because then you know exactly who you're picking for, and that. And again, I know most of my coworkers. I know what they like. So
yeah, there's also plenty of like websites that you could set up a Secret Santa, and people could put like Amazon links of things that.
Yeah. The one time we did it, people put in wrote their name and then wrote 3 things they wanted
Yeah.
on
Good
there.
idea.
And then when you pick the name, you got the name and the 3 things.
That's cool. Yeah, I think that's a good way to go about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, thanks for the story, Dan.
You're welcome. Yeah, I thought again, it was a chance for my inner asshole to shine.
All right. Well, this week is the week that we chose our poll for our Christmas movie of the month. And this year, our theme was TV specials. And we had 3 TV specials. We had the Power Rangers Christmas special. We had the Sonic Christmas special. And then we had my pick, which will end up winning, the He-Man She-Ra Christmas special. I believe its official title is He-Man and She-Ra, a Christmas special. And I think this is the first time I've seen it, but I've heard things about it and wanted to get your guys' take on it. So, Dan, where are you coming from? He-Man and She-Ra, a Christmas special.
Well, I feel as if I can confidently say this is the greatest Christmas special that has a helicopter shaped like a dildo in it.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
I loved it. It harkened back to a better time in life for a lot of people. I'm assuming, this type of animation. I miss it. It's very poor in areas, but really great in other areas. Like Castle Grayskull looks awesome, but some of the animation of the characters running away in a cartoonish style will always crack me up.
Oh, you mean She-Ra's smile? That is
Right.
like 1 frame of animation.
Right, or like there's at the beginning where I guess the people in Eternia are getting ready for Christmas, and the animators just animate the hands or the arm of a character moving up and down.
Sure.
I love that kind of animation, and I grew up on He-Man. I had a lot of the action figures. And this is so silly, and but it still has the Christmas spirit in it. I loved it. I love this stuff. This is one of my. I'm glad we chose it.
Mark, what about you?
Yeah. So I have not seen it either. And I think this is the first time watching a movie where the letterbox, one of the letterbox descriptions matched it perfectly. The one that said, you show this movie to children nowadays to let them know that the 80s were both a magical place and a terrifying place. Just in the way the animation is in this and the different ways that children got kidnapped while getting Christmas trees on their own, apparently, in this story. But I think the one main thing, before I get into my thoughts on the movie, is I don't know if I'll stand for this anti-Transformers propaganda in this movie. The main bad guys are robots that change into other things. I wonder what that could be a reference to at the time. But anyway, I love that. I think the one thing I loved, and we might get into this a little deeper later, but I like that there were some analogs to other Christmas specials or Christmas stories, down to like small details. Obviously, the whole Skeletor thing is Grinch. Mm-hmm. But I also love that they gave him a dog, just a
robot dog,
mm-hmm. Just to sort of blend that all together. And it was kind of funny that dog just comes out of nowhere, and the whole point is to just start the Grinch storyline for Skeletor, who still has one of my favorite voices in animation. It makes me laugh every time. I don't know how they settled on that voice, but whoever decided it was genius. And having not watched He-Man and She-Ra in a while, I was kind of confused with bad guys and good guys, and who was with them and like why they were with them, all that stuff popped up. But being a short movie special, they kind of gave you enough information to guide you along. But yeah, it definitely is one of those older specials that was just like, hey, we got these 2 properties that we run separate shows on. Let's put them together. Let's make some money. We probably can make some toys out of this. Maybe have a set of, the 2 kids, the Christmas tree, and things like that to add to your He-Man collection or something.
Those are flying off the shelves, Mark.
Yeah.
Miguel with the Christmas tree.
Yeah. Well, back in the 80s, it was anything they could put into an action figure, they would. Would it sell? Who knows? But it was basically, if you had to script out how to do this, back in the day, it was one of those things where neither character looked stronger or smarter than the other in terms of He-Man and She-Ra. They each got to do their special things and their calls and their lines. It kind of felt like a wrestling crossover for a little bit. Everybody got to do their thing here, and it worked. It's a lot better than any other ones that we've watched in the past, and there's not much cringe if you can at least in your mind think back to the time and place element. Obviously, there's things that don't age in terms, like we were talking about animation, maybe line delivery, but it's perfectly fine. And, it could be something that pops on and, you don't have to, like your kids maybe will get into it just because of the bright colors or something. I don't know. But I did enjoy it.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to go revisit the original He-Man or She-Ra series after this, but I didn't have a terrible time with it. It was silly. Skeletor is hilarious. I feel like He-Man and She-Ra do want to fuck, though.
I was
Did anyone get those
confused.
vibes?
I always thought He-Man and She-Ra were different. Were not related.
They are twins.
I didn't know that. So
They really seemed like they wanted to fuck, though.
Yeah, and it made it very awkward. I was like, oh, I thought they like hooked up at one point, but maybe that was just my fanfic.
I mean, they are royalty, so they're probably just trying to keep it in the family.
Yeah, keep the bloodline.
Yeah,
Keep it
The
pure.
bloodline pure.
Yeah, but that one hug, that was pretty. That was a little too much. And then at the end, when
He-Man held a little too long on that.
Oh, the end was creepy.
The end when she reveals that she knew it was him all along as Santa Claus.
Yeah, and he was very upset by that.
Mm-hmm.
I think he wanted her to sit on his lap.
Probably. It's also very horny, like with the whole like vaguely going into BDSM with like the Skeletor's ship tying up He-Man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
the claws and the pinchers, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you gotta have something for the parents as well.
That's true.
and
Yeah.
that one dude playing his lute.
Now,
like
Mark,
with a half
that
shirt.
is a set that I would have bought. The BDSM Skeletor ship.
Yeah. Well, Mark, talking about selling toys, what if that's how they're trying to get into the Transformer market by introducing these robot Transformers?
I mean, I was going to bring it up, but I'm fairly certain, but I didn't do the research too deeply on it. But honestly, the whole reason why the She-Ra He-Man story is weird is because I think they literally created She-Ra just so they could get a female market.
Oh yeah,
For
absolutely.
that. Yeah, and so it wouldn't doubt it that they were trying to get into the Transformers market. But my thought and joke is that they had her point out multiple times. They're just evil. Look how evil those robots are.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, what's going on?
I wonder if they ever made Manchines toys.
That they had to have, but that's a terrible line of toys. They look ridiculous.
And they stood no shots against the other ones.
Oh, right. Thank you, Mark. I remember I said that to Jen. How could these be their arch nemesis? They tower over these little things. You couldn't beat them.
My favorite part is that they're all cousins. Oh,
Are they?
Go see my cousin. It's like, okay. What a weird detail to add into that line of dialogue.
It made me feel like that was an inside joke that they were like sort of like the mafia or something. Like, oh yeah, go see my cousin. Yeah, my cousin's got it.
Their designs were terrible. Everything about them looked awful. I'm looking at them right now. One looks like a lobster. One is a scooter. They look like Mega Man rejects.
Kind of do, yeah.
Oh,
Toys, though.
When these things came onto the screen, I was like, why are we doing this? Why couldn't we just have He-Man and She-Ra fight the evil Transformer robots?
I love how they do the surprise you with the size of the robot.
They're massive.
Like, the little robot, it peeks in the window for the jail cell.
Oh, the Manchines.
Like, let me cut you out. The Manchines, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, let me cut you out. You don't call me Cutter for nothing, or whatever his name was. And then he cuts the bars, and then they climb out, and the top of that window is like the ground, and the thing's like 3 foot tall.
Yeah.
But when you first see it with the, I guess that would technically be an animation version of a Dutch angle. Just sort of looking up, it makes it seem like these robots are like 9 feet tall, peeking in.
This is the first and only appearance of the Manchines.
Good.
Special.
They were terrible.
Is this like the Star Wars special? People that's the only time they're ever mentioned.
Yeah. The Monstroids are loosely based on the Monstroid toy line from Masters of the Universe.
Okay. I didn't have those as far as I remember.
No.
And what Mark said, I agreed with. I liked how both He-Man and She-Ra had their time to shine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It wasn't just, She-Ra, go do this useless side quest while He-Man does all the work.
Yeah, it almost seems like it was a formula. It's like it's every time it's like He-Man shows up first, he fights somebody, he gets outnumbered, then She-Ra comes in and saves him, and then they fight together. It happens like 2 or 3 times in this.
Yeah, it felt like a wrestling thing, when one guy goes in and clears the ring, then he gets teamed up on, the other guy recovers and clears the ring again.
Yeah, the hot tag.
Yeah, back and forth there. But the one thing I did point out about the first She-Ra part is that having the first, what was the first thing called? Like the Beast Monster.
Beast Monster.
Yeah, very much felt like I said a dungeon master running out of prep time and needing a name for the enemy they were going to fight. It was like, Beast Monster. Yeah, that's it.
It might as well have been called placeholder.
Yeah.
Beast Monster is just the same word twice, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
She-Ra, you have to go get the water crystal from the placeholder and make sure that you keep the placeholder fighting long enough. It's funny, if this Christmas special came out today, there'd be a certain group of people who would have called it woke.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Oh, She-Ra emasculating He-Man, saving him a couple times. So people who complain about it now as if it's some brand new thing, women who can do things, go watch He-Man and She-Ra, a Christmas special.
No, I mean, they were probably saying that back then, too.
I guess it wasn't as amplified, right?
Yeah, because there's no social media.
There's no social media.
And then She-Ra came back out recently and was just super gay. Like they completely threw away the pretext, right? Or pretense.
Subtext.
She didn't want to bang He-Man.
Oh no!
And those people would probably rather have that happen than She-Ra be gay.
Interesting. I guess so.
I guarantee it. Because as long as they're with a man, as long as She-Ra's with a man, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Oh, Mark Hamill plays Skeletor in the Masters of the Universe Revelation, the Kevin Smith series.
Yes. Skeletor has one of the better lines in a Christmas special. Like, I don't like feeling good. I like feeling evil.
Fighting is fun.
It's I never heard of this. So Skeletor and the other villain, the She-Ra villain, Hardock. They answered to this other gigantic robot. I'd never heard of this before.
Horde Prime.
Yeah, I never heard of that. I don't know who that was canon for. Was it He-Man or She-Ra or both? I don't know.
I think it might have been She-Ra.
Interesting. She-Ra was pretty cool. I never really watched She-Ra growing up.
Yeah, I can't really say I've watched. I definitely watched both. I mean, I had a sister, so we definitely watched She-Ra, and I know she had She-Ra dolls, and I definitely had that elephant-looking dude as a action figure.
The one who was able to put the star at the top of the tree.
Snout Spout, I think his name is, or Snout.
Yeah.
I usually
shot water out.
I usually just added him to my wrestling figures, and he became a wrestler.
That's what I used to do. I did that with my Iron Man wrestler. He was like my top baby face.
Nice. Horde Prime, Supreme Overlord of the Horde Empire in the Masters of the Universe franchise, first created for the cartoon series She-Ra, Princess of Power. There you go.
Cool. Yeah, I thought it was it got across the message again. It had the action for the kids, but it also showed, Christmas isn't just about presents, right? They beat that over the head, beat you over the head with that.
I mean, they were trying to teach Orko Christianity, so
That's true. Right? They sit him down for like God knows how long, and they just explain Christianity to Orko.
and he's just like, yeah, that's fine. Tell me about the
Yeah,
presents.
give me the presents. But they mention it a bunch of times. Hey, Christmas is about feeling nice, and it's a time of hope, and this, that, and the other thing, and so that it did its job as a cartoon Christmas special. They all did, right? It was like the Flintstones, the Jetsons. They all do the same thing essentially, just within their own universe.
Yeah. I like that how they avoided getting too Christian by like cutting away every time they got it into the
Yeah.
nitty-gritty.
Yeah. Yeah, they and at the end I think they say Happy Holidays too.
Oh man.
Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas. Again,
Can't say Christmas.
Whoa.
We can't say Merry Christmas these days, or in the 80s.
it's sad what our society has become.
Mm-hmm.
I was just surprised that Christmas was in Eternia, or was that the first time Christmas comes to Eternia?
That was the first time, but is their mom an Earthling? Because she
must
knew
be.
all about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Knew
she
all
even
about- Yeah,
she mentions Santa Claus,
she knows all about Santa Claus. She knows all about Christmas. She knows all about Earth.
but the
So I don't
husband doesn't.
know. Yeah, I don't know the whole story behind their parents.
Yeah, neither do I. But that's either true lore wise or they made it true for this special.
Right.
Which is who's to say they didn't just do that, right?
Mhm.
I'll tell you what threw me through a loop was Swifty or Swiftwind, She-Ra's Pegasus.
When it started to talk.
Oh my god. The voice that came out of Swifty, I was quite shocked. Because, you would figure it's a more feminine voice, right?
It's just deep.
Yeah, She-Ra, who is that? Wait a minute. That's not the voice that should be coming out of you, dude.
It's definitely a choice.
Yeah, that was probably the most surprising thing to me in the entire special.
I'm looking through this He-Man wiki and the fandom. Apparently, Adam and Adora are Skeletor's half-nephew and half-niece, respectively.
Really?
What is going on here?
Whoa, a lot of He-Man revelations.
I guess King Randor is his half-brother.
Skeletor's half brother.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
I didn't either. Small world.
Yeah. I don't know if that really adds anything to the lore,
No.
right? Because they just fight each other regardless.
Yeah.
And
It's just like a Star Wars syndrome. Everybody's
Yeah.
connected.
there's I made a joke when we were watching it. So like towards the end when Skeletor he has a face turn and he helps Miguel and Eliza. Is that the sister's name?
I have no idea what those kids' names are.
I just
But it
remember
is
Miguel.
They're the children.
The
That's all I know.
children. Yeah. So he helps the children escape Hordak, and then he's hanging out with He-Man and She-Ra, and they're all having a laugh, and then it cuts to black, and it cuts to the next scene, and I just think, I wonder if they just beat the shit out of Skeletor after that. It's like, it's good to feel good, doesn't it, Skeletor? I don't like that, and then they just beat the shit out of him in front of the children because you don't see him after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also just realized when you said that, Dan, saying having a laugh and not having an English accent just sounds weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Taking the piss.
I'm also now looking at Queen Marlena, and she was on planet Earth, where she became an accomplished pilot while she's still in her teens. She discovered astronautics and excelled in that field as well. And she offered her services to NASA. In her final space mission, Glenn's ship was thrown off course, causing her to be hopelessly stranded on Eternia. So she was a female astronaut.
And she gave that all up to be a stay-at-home mom. The
Yep.
80s.
A queen, to be fair.
Basically
Hey,
said in He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, her role is fairly limited, serving no purpose except to sit beside King Randor.
Oh,
But she's an astronaut.
Yeah.
Yep.
Probably far more intelligent than King Randor.
I bet he's a big dummy.
Yeah, of course, right? Like that was that's a trope to this day, right? The man is just this big dummy and the wife is the brains behind the whole operation.
Yeah.
I mean, Kevin James has made a career off of it.
Yeah.
Very true. Very true.
He'd be a good King Randor in the live-action movie.
Oh, I'm tired of him. Keep Kevin James away from the screen.
You're tired of him? Are you watching a lot of Kevin James stuff?
Well, the last thing I saw him in was the Sean Payton quote unquote biopic,
Oh, okay.
and he was so bad, so bad. Yeah, I think, but I haven't watched a lot of TV, to be fair. But
To be fair,
oh no, I feel as if this type of show or cartoon isn't around anymore. But I could be wrong. Maybe they still have these on Nickelodeon, Disney Junior or whatever.
I mean, from the weekend that I was trapped in a hotel room with my niece who only wanted to watch the Disney Channel, it's hit or miss. There's one show I forget the name of. The animation's not the same. Like obviously, like sometimes they go weird animation rather than polished. This is probably as polished as animation could be in the 80s. But it's still like some good messaging, like and not just played for crude lowbrow fart jokes or things like that. Like storylines that the parents would understand a little bit deeper than the kids. But it still gets a nice message along while still entertaining the children. Which is pretty much what I think G.I. Joe and He-Man and She-Ra attempted to do in the 80s. And just like cartoons nowadays, they hit or miss. But yeah, they're still attempting it. There's not all princesses and stuff like that. The big thing on Disney Channel is superheroes nowadays, by the way, guys.
Sure.
If you didn't know, there's like 5 different superhero shows.
Right.
Makes sense. They're all the rage.
Yeah. And plus the 80s cartoons, they were just selling toy vehicles, basically.
Yeah. The toys came first.
Yeah.
There's an interesting documentary on Netflix, the toys that made us.
Yeah.
Those are fun. He-Man is one of them. Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so on. But yeah, for a kid like me who had those kind of action figures, it was a nice walk down memory lane. Because it's been years since I've watched anything He-Man. I watched some of the Kevin Smith Netflix show, and it was good. It was He-Man, but it's good to see this kind of He-Man as well after so long.
Sure. So, He-Man and She-Ra: A Christmas Special from 1985, directed by Bill Reed and Ernie Schmidt, 2 animation directors. Nothing major. Just did a bunch of episodes of He-Man, Masters of the Universe, and a bunch of shows from that time, too. Stars John Irwin, Alan Oppenheimer, Linda Gary, Lana Beeson, Melanie Britt, George DeCenzo, Erica Scheimer, R.D. Robb, and Lou Scheimer. No names that anyone would know, except for R.D. Robb. He played Schwartz in A Christmas Story. So
there you go.
He played the kid. IMDb score of 6.6, Rotten Tomato score of 55%, audience only. And obviously no budget or box office numbers.
I have a feeling the people that are obsessed with these shows obviously would be excited to hear the names of the people that voice She-Ra and He-Man, or maybe even Orko.
Probably Skeletor more than anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You look at it through nostalgia covered lenses,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Who was the one that actually played?
That's what's it called? It's the way you get on the con circuit.
Yeah.
It's just stand in a corner booth with the sign behind you and said voice of She-Ra, or
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I'm sure some of the people who did these voices probably voiced other characters in other cartoon shows, right?
Yeah, I mean, voice acting is a small field anyway. It's why like 70% of the people do everything.
Well, especially in the 80s too.
Yeah.
You know what I loved about these type of shows, especially He-Man. He-Man was famous for this. The dialogue in it is something you don't hear anymore, right? Skeletor and Hordak, like, oh, blasted, or like, I've been foiled again, or one of the robots calls He-Man a lout. Like, it's that lout He-Man. I got a chuckle out of that because you don't hear about that anymore.
Yeah, the voice of Skeletor was Alan Oppenheimer. He's still doing some stuff. He did the voice of Skeletor in the Chippendales Rescue Rangers movie from this year.
Wow. That's cool that you can be forever linked to a character and people will still want to pay homage to it.
Mhm.
And people, like Mark said, people probably got a huge kick out of that. Like, oh, that's Bob. What's his name? Frank Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer. Alan
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
Alan
That's what
Oppenheimer.
Christopher Nolan's next movie is about him.
Yeah, right. Discovering the voice of Skeletor.
Discovering the Skeletor voice.
People won't fear it until they hear it.
Yeah, people are going to be very disappointed when they go into that movie.
Not me. It's just 3 hours of Alan Oppenheimer trying to figure out the voice.
It was in a booth. No, that's not right.
Yeah. Oh, God. #1 at the box office. Save cinema.
It's also in Toy Story 4 as Old Timer.
Oh, that would have been cool if he showed up as Skeletor again.
And that'd be a perfect movie for a Toy Story.
Exactly.
It's a Skeletor action figure.
Curse you, Woody.
Do you guys want to get into the plot?
There's a plot?
Sort of.
Okay.
Dan, what do you got for us this week?
All right. I want to give a big shout out and a happy holidays to our good friends at Geek Vibes Nation, and specifically Brittany and Tia. As you know, they're good friends of ours. We plug them every week on the podcast. They have a podcast themselves called Top 10 with Tia. So Tia and Brittany get together every week. They go over their top 10 list of that particular week. And if it's something that you enjoy, if you like top 10 lists, please go over to geekvibesnation.com, search the top 10 with Tia, and it'll pop right up.
Okay, great. And we are going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast. So we will be back in a second.
He-Man and She-Ra will be right back.
Hey, this is Ken M.
I'm Padawan J.
from the ODPH podcast.
Each week, we talk a parlay of topics.
That's right, whether it's sports, pro wrestling, movies, TV, comics, and more, we've got a take on it.
And don't forget, odphpodcast.com for links for Patreon, TeePublic, and the Parlay Points blogs, and much more.
Thanks for listening to the ODPH podcast. Now back to your regularly scheduled show.
You know I don't know I was so damn hard to say.
Welcome, travelers. Seems like you're looking for a story. Well, I got one for you. Involves adventure, friendship, and all sorts of...
Earl, why don't you tell him about that time I stole that big-ass melon?
Yeah, I was going for more...
Or you could tell him about the time I kicked your ass, Earl.
I wouldn't ever tell them.
Do I need to get my ref gear on?
Okay, everyone, shut up. Now come with me as I tell you a story from afar. Hey everybody, my name's David. I'm the DM for From Afar Podcast. From Afar Podcast is all about four friends separated by distance, but brought together by adventure. Hope you all stop by and give us a listen. Thanks.
Now back to He-Man and She-Ra.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into the plot for He-Man and She-Ra, a Christmas special. We open on a snowy day on Eternia as they prepare to celebrate the twins' birthday. Even Adora's friends have come from her home to help decorate, including Peekaboo, as she paints the walls. What stupid names.
Yeah, I just like how this was felt like it was very set up to just remind anybody watching the names of the characters.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Adam and Man-at-Arms are preparing a spy plane that could help them track Skeletor. But unbeknownst to them, Orko sneaks inside and actually starts the rocket. Adam tries to stop it, but to no avail, and Orko gets sent into space.
I can't believe that it took Eternia that long to get drones.
Right. A sky spy is what they call it.
That's right, the Sky Spy.
Yeah. After the credits, Skeletor spies the rocket and goes after it in his own ship. And then Adam spies Skeletor in pursuit of the spy ship, so he turns into He-Man and goes to stop Skeletor by driving his rocket bike. He grabs the ship's grabber claws and chops them off with his sword. So Skeletor has his men try to grab He-Man with some grabber belts and ties him up very kinkily. But then She-Ra comes riding in on her Pegasus and cuts the belts, and they both open a hole in Skeletor's ship. Orko then tries to cast a spell to have Sky spy land, but it does the exact opposite and starts flying off into space.
Can we just take a moment to acknowledge and appreciate all of the that sentence that you just said? Right? He-Man and She-Ra punch a hole in Skeletor's plane, and Orko rides a spaceship into space.
It's wild, man.
It
Okay, and
is,
it's
right?
perfectly normal. I don't know what you're.
This is what we need in today's world. We need sentences like that.
Yeah. I feel like, there's a lot of Cartoon Network shows that adult people really enjoy that we're probably missing, that things like out there like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like that show Gumball. I've never seen any of it, but there's definitely a fan base around it. So I feel like you just got to look for it.
I think a lot of the cartoons for adults are just like hyper aware now.
Probably too, yeah. I don't know if you're going to get He-Man and She-Ra punching a hole in a spaceship, but you might get something that's a little esoteric.
Something close to it, maybe.
Yeah. So He-Man and She-Ra go after him, but when Skeletor tries to pursue, his goons tell him that He-Man and She-Ra destroy the controls of the ship, so he gives them a parachute and ejects them all and tells them to go follow. And the Sky Spy ship teleports away, and He-Man and She-Ra go back to base. As Orko gets sent to another planet, Man-at-Arms and Adam try and find the ship using their Finder beam. Orko then crash lands in a snowy locale and then comes across two children in danger of an avalanche. So he uses a spell to levitate them away from the avalanche and drops them off near him. And we find out this is Earth. Kid tells Orko that they are out looking for a Christmas tree when they got lost. So Orko brings the kids back to his ship to keep warm. Meanwhile, back on Eternia, they realize that Orko was the one that accidentally turned on the rocket ship, and they need to find him. He never has any comeuppance or never gets scolded about, breaking into that ship and turning it on.
No, and kidnapping children.
And kidnapping children too, yeah.
Yeah, no one ever gives him any grief.
He was just misguided, Dan.
Yeah.
Right, because he's like a child himself, really, Orko.
Yeah. Orko sits the kids down, and they explain the whole idea of Christmas to him. But then, in the meantime, Man-at-Arms tracks the coordinates of the ship, and Adora and Adam's mom realize that it's coordinates to Earth. Man-at-Arms says they could use the transport beam to get to Earth, but he needs some sort of crystal that isn't found on Eternia. So Adora says that there may be one on Etheria. So she She-Ra's out and heads to go to Etheria to talk to Mermista, a mermaid lady.
Of course. See, this is what I thought, or why I thought He-Man and She-Ra were different. So like, okay, He-Man's from Eternia, She-Ra's from Etheria. Etheria. So like, okay, yeah, they're like, she is the He-Man of Etheria.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know why they're from different places.
Yeah,
Sure,
so now I don't know.
Yeah. So She-Ra takes her. Mermista tells her that she can get a water crystal, but she will need to defeat the beast monster to get it. But Mermista says that she will help her. So She-Ra takes her Pegasus and flies to the pool of the beast monster. And the beast monster appears, and it's basically just a sea monster mixed with a dinosaur. And She-Ra distracts the beast monster by knocking it into a pile of ruins. But meanwhile, Mermista finds the crystal and gives it to She-Ra.
I'm fairly sure the beast monster's roar is the same roar that King Kong uses in the 1978 version.
Okay.
With Jeff Bridges?
You would know better than me.
Yeah, it sounds very similar. It's probably just a stock monster roar, right?
Yeah. It's the Wilhelm scream of monster roars.
I was just thinking that,
yeah. And then a bunch of robots show up. She-Ra tries to fly away on her Pegasus Swifty, but the robots trap her in some sort of bubble. Then the robots transform and then drive away, leaving She-Ra there. And she uses her sword to cut the bubble, and they fly back to Eternia to bring the crystal back to Man-at-Arms. With the crystal back at Eternia, Man-at-Arms uses it to transport beam machine and manages to send it to the coordinates of Orko and the kids. The kids and Orko walk into a sparkling sphere and get teleported with the Sky Spy back to Eternia.
These kids are very trusting of this floating creature they just met on the map.
They sure are.
Yeah. And Orko tells everyone the whole story about how he wound up on Earth. Meanwhile, Horde Prime senses a great presence of good on Eternia, so he sends for Skeletor and Hordak. After Orko tells the story of his adventure, the kids ask if they'll be home in time for Christmas. Man-at-Arms says that he's not sure because the water crystal might not be charged in time. So the Queen tells the kids they'll combine the twins' birthday with Christmas and make a whole celebration out of it.
So did they just make She-Ra and He-Man Jesus here?
Yeah, I guess so. I think it was a council decided that the twins' birthday was that day, like 600 years after the actual birth.
Yeah,
They moved it.
Yeah, it didn't tie in with any specific thing going on in another culture at all.
They moved it to steal the holiday away from the pagans once again.
Oh, always the pagans.
And then Adam is confused about who Santa is, and then Orko goes into the whole story. Skeletor and Hordak go in front of Horde Prime, and Prime tells them that there's Christmas spirit on Eternia, and he doesn't want that, so he sends them out to put an end to it. Back in Eternia, Perfuma tries to make the kids more at home by making it snowy to make it seem more like Christmas. And then some dude with a lute, who I never got the name of, plays a new Christmas song he wrote, and the kids sing it, and it's about the quality of Angel Baby from Santa with Muscles.
I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah. And they'll have a good laugh until Hordak shows up in a dick-shaped space helicopter and beams the kids and Orko up while freezing Perfuma and the other guy and take the children back to Etheria.
I mean, it's 100% that some of these designs, and I don't need the truth on this, people, but that I think these animators just tried to sneak these things in.
Yeah.
To see how far they could get before somebody went, you might want, that's no good.
Yep.
It also, the helicopter also perfectly fits in the evil robot's hand.
Yeah, at the exact right spot.
Yep. Yeah, like the perfect grip for it. I'm like, okay, well, I see what they're going with this.
The Eternia team regroups after the kidnapping, and they decide to go see if Peekaboo can help them. On Etheria, Hordak's ship gets grabbed and grounded by the robots. He gets out of the ship and basically gives the robots, what's the big idea sort of speech. So the robots then point a bunch of cannons at Hordak and his goons, and they all hightail it out of there. Real Hanna-Barbera style.
I think with the same like whoop, 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 whoop sound effect.
Yeah. You thought it was Yogi Bear running with a picnic basket.
Picnic basket.
The robots say that they're going to keep the kids as prisoners to lure Horde Prime there, and they'll deal with him when he gets there. Team goes to Peekaboo, and she uses her powers to track the kids to Etheria, and that the robots took the kids prisoner. But she also mentions the Manchines are helping them escape, but they'll need help. And right on cue, as the kids and Orko are being held in a cell, a Manchine by the name of Cutter shows up and cuts the bars on the window to help them escape. And his cousin shows up, who's also some sort of motorcycle to help them get moving. And just it's my cousin. It's like, who the fuck is your cousin?
Who cares?
Who cares?
Now's not the time for that kind of detail.
Yeah, it's not really my cousin, like a second cousin, or
right. Yeah, might as well, right?
They try to escape, but the big robots surround them and prepare to put them back in the cell with the Manchines. But He-Man shows up to save the day. He quickly disposes of one of the robots by tying their claws together. Then She-Ra shows up to lasso one of its legs and pull them out from under them. He-Man picks up one of them and throws them, but then He-Man and She-Ra get surrounded. And Cutter, the Manchine, tells his cousin that they need to call their other cousins and tells Orko to take the kids somewhere safe. So then the Manchines show up and help He-Man and She-Ra take care of the evil robots, sort of like the Ewoks from Return of the Jedi. And the kids come across a Manchine puppy named Relay. But then Skeletor shows up and sees the kids, and he takes them away in a tractor beam and flies away in a turtle-shaped rocket bike. She-Ra tries to stop him, but he traps Swifty in some spikes, slowing them down. And as Skeletor tries to leave, Hordak winds up shooting his rocket bike down, and he has to crash land. After they crash, Skeletor tells the kids they need to get moving because Hordak will be back. But the kids are so cold that they can barely move. So begrudgingly, he conjures them a couple of parkas and tells them to keep moving, but he wants them to leave Relay behind. But after they start to leave, Skeletor hears Relay whine, and Skeletor decides that he can't leave Relay behind, so he picks Relay up and takes it with him. And on the walk, Skeletor wants to hear more about Christmas, and he doesn't want to let the children hold Relay. He wants to hold him himself.
Well, he's starting to crack.
Mm-hmm. And he wants to know whether they have fights during Christmas because he thinks fights are nice.
He's right. Fights happen a lot at Christmas, so
that's true.
Probably more often than he would love.
Yeah.
Well, this is too much fighting.
You
people need to get it together.
Then a snow beast shows up, and Skeletor orders the kids behind him, and he uses his staff to send the snow beast through the ice and down a cliff. Kids tell him that he's wonderful, which he loves but also hates. And he tells them he's still bringing them to Horde Prime. But then He-Man and She-Ra show up, stop Skeletor, as does Hordak and his crew. So He-Man and She-Ra let Hordak and Skeletor fight it out. Skeletor shoots a beam at Hordak, which Hordak deflects back to Skeletor, and Skeletor knocks himself out, which I kind of love that for like 2 straight minutes he's just out on the ground.
He's selling.
He-Man tells the kids to run somewhere safe, but they wind up running right where Horde Prime's ship shows up. Hordak then sicks his robots on He-Man and She-Ra. They have to fight them off. Meanwhile, Horde Prime extends a grabber claw from his ship to grab the kids. So Relay manages to wake up Skeletor, who decides he has to save the children, despite his best intentions. So he shoots a beam from his staff, which destroys the grabber claw and causes Horde Horde Prime's ship to crash. After the crash, Horde Prime is mad at Skeletor and gets ready to shoot Skeletor with his ship's gun, but He-Man and She-Ra team up to pick up the ship and then yeet it into space. Then the kids come running up to hug Skeletor to thank him for saving them. Skeletor is confused about his feelings of good, and He-Man tells him he's feeling the Christmas spirit, and She-Ra tells him not to worry because Christmas only comes once a year. Back on Eternia, Adam dresses as Santa and gives the kids flying belts. And Man-at-Arms gets ready to send the kid back to Earth. Kids give Relay back to Adora to give it back to the Manchines. And then Man-at-Arms sends them back home. And on a screen, they watch as the kids hug their parents and try to tell them about where they were. The parents shrug them off as stories, but then the kids use their flying belts to fly past them to their bedrooms, shocking their parents.
This might have been in a program that had not great animation. The shocked look of the parents looks like it was a last-minute rush job.
And they break the fourth wall.
Yep.
Yeah.
They stare right at the camera.
Yep. And then Adora pulls Adam's fake Santa beard off and tells him she knew it was him, and almost seems like she's about to blow him. And then everyone says Merry Christmas, and then we get another ending with Adam and Orko talking about the spirit of togetherness that comes with Christmas, and as well as presents. And then we fade out. And that is the end of He-Man and She-Ra, a Christmas special.
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very straightforward.
Exactly what you'd expect from a He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special.
Yeah. It's so much fun.
Yeah. It's a good time. All right. That's the plot. We've got another segment coming up. But before we get to that, you guys are going to listen to some ads so we can pay those bills. And we will be right back.
The Christmas special will be right back. The Christmas special now continues.
And welcome back. And for this one, we're wrapping up our Christmas month. I decided to keep it simple. We're talking about a Christmas special here this week with He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special. So I wanted us to do top fives. So we have top 5 Christmas specials. And I said you could also just do TV episodes, whatever, because there's plenty of sitcoms that have great TV Christmas episodes. Home Improvement always had good ones. Friends always had one, but yeah. So that's it. TV Christmas specials, top 5s. So this isn't fantasy. You can pick whatever. We can overlap or whatever. But Mark, would you want to start?
Yeah. So I will take what I consider the GOAT and do a Charlie Brown Christmas.
Is this your number 1 or is this your 5?
Are we doing a ranking?
You don't have to.
No. Yeah, because I wouldn't know where to put any of these. To be outside of this one would be the top one, but I want to make sure that we mentioned it right off the bat. But yeah, a Charlie Brown Christmas. It's one I watch every year. I have the vinyl soundtrack that I listen to. It used to be there's so many things surrounding it, and personal, family, and even friend stuff with Christmas time. It was the soundtrack for like the happy hour portion of my friend's former Christmas party that we used to have before they all moved scattered across the country. So yeah, it's definitely a movie that when you say Christmas special, it's a little one near and dear to my heart, and I think it's one of the better ones that I think you can show kids of all ages and not be too worried about it. So definitely do pick a Charlie Brown Christmas here.
Okay, I'll go next because I also picked the Charlie Brown Christmas in my list. And if we're not doing ranks, then we won't do ranks. It's fine. Charlie Brown Christmas, yeah, 2 specials my family and I would watch every year. Made appointment viewing to watch, and this Charlie Brown Christmas was one of them. And it's great. I know Dan's not a huge fan of Charlie Brown Christmas, if I remember correctly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he hates it.
Yeah, I think that's actually accurate.
Just like on the same level that I hate Star Wars, Dan.
It might be even more.
Yeah, but I spent this past weekend with my parents because I'm not going to see them on Christmas, and my parents put it on and we watched it, and always great, always a great time. So I'm a fan of the Peanuts. I like Peanuts. But okay, Dan, what about you? What's one of yours?
I'm going to assume you and I overlap on this one too, Ant. But no ranking necessarily, but Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire.
Yep, it's on my list too.
Yeah, I would imagine, and for good reason. I know Anthony and I. It's one of our favorite, if not our favorite, TV show of all time. It's the episode that started it all.
Yep, the very first episode of The Simpsons is a Christmas episode.
Yeah, and it introduces a lot of key players in it. You got pretty much the entire Simpson family, the Bouvier families in there. Introduces Santa's little helper, Mr. Burns, Barney, Moe. So yeah, it laid the groundwork for the ongoing series. Yeah, it's a classic. I love it. Not a Christmas special per se, but it's a Christmas episode, obviously, and yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I can't really say much more about it. It's favorite show of all time, despite the fact that it's gone 20 years longer than it should have, maybe more, depending on who you ask. But Simpsons Roasting on Open Fire is a great first step, the launching point of it. I know people sometimes say the first 2 seasons aren't really worth watching, but they're both great.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
All right, Mark, what about another one from you?
Yeah, so the other one that I watched a good bit is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the original from 1964. I believe that's what would be the word, like stop motion, I guess.
Rankin Bass.
Yeah,
Rankin Bass stop motion.
Yeah.
Claymation is a name that comes up too.
Yeah, but yeah, that's another one that we had the VHS for in the house. So we make sure to watch it if it comes on TV. Now that VCRs are not a thing. But yeah, and it became an even funnier thing to watch, and it's something I pass along to my nieces just because of their tie to the name. So it's got an extended life in our family, because of that. There are plenty other choices in terms of there's been plenty of Rudolph movies, but the original has been something like most of these movies that we'll probably mention on this list is just meant to invoke that family sitting around a TV thing that I don't know how much actually goes on anymore in terms of that, but definitely for people of our generation.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to just jump right in here. I don't even have to name any of mine because you guys are just going to pick them for me. Yeah, this is on my list too. This is the other special that my family would appointment view. This was Charlie Brown Christmas and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I think it's the best of the Rankin Bass specials, and they have great ones. They have a lot of good ones, but this one I think is the best. The music is great. Silver and Gold is a very underrated Christmas song, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, it's great. Despite the fact that Santa's a piece of shit in this movie,
I mean, it's telling the truth. It's getting away from the propaganda. Man.
Yeah, that is true. But yeah, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I ranked mine. This was actually number 1, just ahead of Charlie Brown Christmas.
Wow, interesting.
Dan, what about you? What's another one for you?
Okay, so speaking of claymation, I'm gonna go with I believe it's another Rankin Bass. It's The Year Without a Santa Claus.
Okay.
From
I did not have this on my
1974.
list. I thought about it, but I do
Okay.
enjoy this one quite a bit.
Okay, so I'm assuming you put Rudolph over A Year Without Santa Claus.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, listen, you can't go wrong with these specials. They're all great. I love Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. We watched The Year Without Santa Claus probably a little bit more than Rudolph, but both were played at the Aquino household. But specifically for the Miser brothers, the Heat Miser and Cold Miser. They had those iconic songs. They still slap to this day. I recently came across a Facebook post from you, Anthony. It was like, who wore it better, Heat Miser or The Situation from Jersey Shore?
Sure.
And it's pretty pretty accurate. But yeah, I enjoyed those. They had some good songs in there, other than the Miser brothers, if I remember correctly. Probably, I think they do a version of "Here Comes Santa Claus." But yeah, very good. If you haven't seen it, like I said, it's a Rankin Bass stop animation. Go check it out.
Okay. Mark, what about another one from you?
Okay. I'm picking a Muppet Family Christmas from 1987. This is the one that was Muppets in live action, not not any kind of cartoon or just straight Muppets. It had them interacting with people in the real world. It was another one. Muppets were a thing in my house because family enjoyed them just as much, parents and grandparents alike. So we make sure to watch this. If we were doing movies, there's another Muppet thing that I would probably pick over this. But just since it was Christmas specials, this would be, one of the other ones I want to make sure that I shouted it out because, Kermit and the gang was always part of, my upbringing. And then also, I believe there's a semi crossover with Sesame Street here because I believe Big Bird's in this. It's kind of kind of two and one there in terms of that. So, but I could be wrong about the Big Bird thing. He might be in something else I've seen, but I do remember there being a crossover with Kermit and Big Bird in a Christmas special sort of thing.
Okay. So, I don't know if I've ever seen that one. But so for another one of mine, I am picking A Garfield Christmas.
Ooh.
I'm not usually a big Garfield fan. I did enjoy the show when it was on. I definitely liked that and the U.S. Acres. But Garfield Christmas, it's just good. It's got this really sweet story about like the mother who's like elderly and
yes.
remembering her husband and what Christmas meant to both of them. It's a very sweet moment, and like you don't usually see like an idea of loss in like a cartoon geared towards children or a Christmas special. But that part always got me as like, oh, this is something different there. So yeah, Garfield Christmas, very heartfelt, surprisingly.
That I remember that scene where she's at the window at night.
Mm-hmm.
And Garfield snuggles up to her while she's saying, "Oh, the husband was a very quiet man, but like Christmas always meant the most to him." It's so touching. Definitely a heart. It pulls at the heartstrings.
Yep. All right, Dan. What about you? What's your next one?
It's a good choice, Ann. I like that. Definitely different. So for mine, it's a TV episode, and it's from a series that had two of my favorite holiday themed episodes. Community. One was the ABBA Halloween episode.
Sure.
And the second was their Christmas episode. I think it's Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas.
Right.
And it's Abed imagines everybody a stop animation, like the Rankin Bass Christmas special. And speaking along Anthony's Garfield episode about loss, this also tackles loss in a way where Abed's mother and father have divorced, and it's his first year not being with the two of them for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's his way of coping with the change in his life, such a drastic change. So he imagines everybody as claymation figures. Like I think Jeff is a Jack in the Box, Shirley is a teddy bear. So everyone is a unique character, kind of taken right out of an old Christmas special. And it's sad and hopeful because it's sad that Abed doesn't get to be with his family proper for Christmas. But at the end, he discovers a new family, and it's the study group. So very well done episode. Very, very touching.
Okay. Mark, what about you?
Yeah, so the last one, just because I can't pick the movie version of this, but I love the story. I'm picking the TV movie version of A Christmas Carol from 1984, which is starring George C. Scott as Ebenezer Scrooge. It was my... I think I told the story before, is that my one family member used to do blank VHSs of every movie that came on any kind of channel, whether it be HBO or, the regular stations like the Sunday night movie or whatever. So this was one that was on a homemade blank VHS tape that we had that we would watch. I think if I remember correctly, and I wish I had a little more time to maybe consult with family, I think he put the two movies on here, and it's the only reason why I remember this one, that he had this one first and then A Muppet Christmas Carol after on the same VHS tape. So I would tend to, that would tend to be playing in our house for a good, 3 to 4 hours, before, just putting on 24 Hours of Christmas Story became the lazy way to have something on the TV during Christmas Eve. But yeah, I finally remember watching this one. And at times I get confused that, I kind of see George C. Scott's Ebenezer Scrooge in the Muppet one when it is not, obviously. But yeah, this was one that cheating a little bit because it was part of a double take that involves a movie. But definitely something that I recommend it's on Amazon Prime now if you want to go back and check it out. It's a really good performance by George C. Scott. I believe he got nominated for an award for it, the limited series or whatever thing. But so A Christmas Carol, 1984.
Okay. My last one on this list is one that is hard to come by. It hasn't played on TV in probably close to 30 years, but it is stop motion, but it is not Rankin Bass. It is Will Vinton's A Claymation Christmas Celebration.
Oh, wow.
This is the California Raisins. This is the kind of vignettes of different music and different animation styles.
It's the only thing I remember from it is the raisins.
Yeah. The Joy to the World one is a very interesting animation style. And it's on YouTube in pieces if you want to go and try and find it. But the California Raisins is kind of like the very 80s draw for it, but there's a lot of things in there to like. A lot of good songs, a lot of good animation. But Will Vinton's A Claymation Christmas Celebration. What about you, Dan? What's your last one?
How many have we done? Have we done 4?
That's my 5th.
That's your 5th.
But you guys also took 2 of mine.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
3 of mine, really.
Okay. All right. So I only get 1 more, huh? All right.
Unless you've only done 3.
Because I did Simpsons, The Year Without Santa Claus, and Community. Right. I didn't do a 4th one as far as I remember. So this would be my 4th, right?
I think so.
Okay. Because I had 2. One is a stark contrast from Garfield and Community. My 4th one is A Very Bundy Christmas.
Okay.
It's a 2-parter.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, it's a Bundy Life, I think it's called. Or
okay, is that the one with Sam Kinison?
Yes, the one with Sam Kinison, where Al electrocutes himself.
Right.
And Sam Kinison, it's a take on It's a Wonderful Life. He shows Al what everyone's life would be like without him, and everyone's life is just like vastly better. I love the fact that it played off of A Wonderful Life, where everyone's life is drastically worse. So then, and Al realizes like, oh, I can't have them being happy, so I got to go back. So he does that, and yeah, I believe it's a 2-parter. It's very funny. It turns A Wonderful Life on its head. And I'm definitely gonna have my boomer moment here, but that's a show that you wouldn't see around anymore. So it's a very unique take on that kind of Christmas feel.
You got another one?
And the other one, it might not count as a Christmas special because it's in the same vein. It's a holiday special. It's the Rugrats telling of Hanukkah, the first Hanukkah.
Oh wow!
No. Oh yeah, I remember that.
The Mecha Babies.
Yes, I just love the Rugrats growing up and their take on the first Hanukkah. It was just very cool. It was very different. Seeing all the babies as the big religious characters. It was fun. It's a very fun interpretation of a holiday. So I don't know where that's streaming. That it might not be streaming anywhere for what I know. For all I know,
I've lost track. I know for a long time, Rugrats is on Hulu.
Might be on Paramount now.
Yeah, because I think they have a lot of Nickelodeon.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe I'll check that out after we record just to see if it's on. But because as of the recording of this episode, we're in Hanukkah. I mean, we're on the third day or fourth day of Hanukkah. So yeah, I don't remember exactly what the episode is called.
Called the Rugrats Christmas or
It's a
Rugrats Hanukkah.
Rugrats Hanukkah. Yeah,
Episode 1.
because Tommy's Jewish, I believe, or part Jewish,
He's part Jewish, yeah.
right? On his mother's side.
Yeah, I think Dee Dee's Jewish.
Yeah. The grandfather tells them the story, and the kids, with their incredible imagination, picture themselves in Jerusalem, and yeah, it's cool. It's a good episode.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was good. Yeah. Do you guys have any things that just missed out on your list?
Mark, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy A Frosty Christmas, the original.
None of us said Frosty
Snowman.
the Snowman. No one said The Grinch. Interesting.
Yeah, The Grinch isn't. I think I've probably heard the song more than I've seen the movie. Like,
yeah, me too.
Sort of thing. Like,
it was never appointment viewing in my house.
No, I think one of the weird times I remember watching it, we watched it in like school for Christmas. I guess they were, maybe it was my 1 year of non-Catholic schooling when I was like in kindergarten, that they didn't want to show a religious movie. And so they put on The Grinch. But I do remember watching it in school at some point. But yeah, I never really, outside of, we watched The Grinch recently, right? For the podcast or last year or something.
I think it was a couple years ago, but yeah.
Yeah. That was probably the last time that I've seen anything remotely, with The Grinch.
Gotcha. So I want to shout out
go ahead.
Bunny's Looney Christmas Tales, because I had it on VHS. I think it was like recorded off of TV that I watched it a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah, that was the best back in. It's like us talking about that is like people that talk about taping, listening to the radio to get their favorite songs on a cassette.
Yeah. I miss when like the Family Channel actually showed these kinds of like specials and stuff, and not just like you watch Elf and then Home Alone, and then the next day it's Home Alone and Elf.
Yeah. Or it's it's the Christmas Vacation, but it's PG cut,
Yeah. And then this weekend it's Harry Potter marathon.
Yeah.
For no reason. That one scene that takes place during Christmas.
Right.
Well, I mean, that's not the furthest stretch for something being marathon during Christmas time.
Okay. Technically, a Fellowship of the Ring is a Christmas movie. The Fellowship departs Rivendell on Christmas. Boom. There you go.
Wait, is that true?
Yeah. Yeah. And then
there's Christmas and
there's Jesus is canon in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he's one of the Maiar.
Wait, no, are you telling the truth on that one too?
No, I'm not.
Because I have no idea what that means.
The Maiar are a type of gods. I think they were the ones that created the Earth.
Okay, but there is Christmas in the world of Lord of the Rings.
Well, maybe, but they go by the the Julian calendar, because Frodo arrives in Rivendell on October, and Gandalf even mentions it.
This is weird to me.
Yeah, I think he arrives on October the 23rd, so right before Halloween. So a Fellowship of the Ring is Christmas, Two Towers is Easter, and Return of the King is Labor Day, I believe. The events take place.
So also America is canon.
Yeah. Okay, at least Christianity is.
But Labor Day is not dealing with Christianity. It's specifically an American holiday.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
democracy. Democracy does exist, as does unions. Unions exist in Lord of the Rings.
No way unions existed.
Well, if they celebrate Labor Day, they absolutely do.
It was either Labor Day or Memorial Day. I have to double check.
Memorial
Day would make more sense.
Yeah, because as Ann said, that would insinuate the existence of unions in Middle Earth.
I am so confused. Like if anyone doesn't realize, I have seen Return of the King once, and that is all my knowledge of Lord of the Rings. But this conversation, I am not sure if I know what Lord of the Rings is after having this conversation.
Yeah,
So
so
the
it,
existence of these holidays in lore.
so yeah, there are actual time dates.
Weird. That's so weird to me. I don't like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, the fellowship breaking on February 26th.
Is there a website that I could look up what happened on my birthday in Middle Earth?
I'm sure there is. Yeah.
What
Maybe
happened on July 2nd in Mordor?
or maybe like Frodo's born on your birthday.
Oh, do I share a birthday with Frodo?
Maybe. Maybe.
Sorry, Aunt. That website, everybody shares a birth date with Frodo.
So it's right around midnight, March 3rd and March 4th. The battle begins at Helm's Deep. I was so close. October. Wait, when did I say Frodo arrives in Rivendell?
Remember?
October what?
I do not remember.
Did I say the 23rd? Because he arrives on the 24th.
I don't remember.
Damn it. Because now I if I got that right, I'd be very happy. Oh yeah, so the hobbits celebrate Yule days. So yeah, there must be like a Christmas like event that happens at least in the Shire.
Gotcha.
Very interesting.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. It's very weird.
And real quick before we do, we wish you a Turtles Christmas. Just missed the list.
All right. All right. That's going to wrap us up this week. We watched He-Man and She-Ra, a Christmas special, directed by Bill Reed and Ernie Schmidt. So, for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Bevicchio telling Bill Reed and Ernie Schmidt, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.